In this video, I'm going to be talking about the negative effects of a high-fat diet, or in other words, a ketogenic diet, which is a very popular diet. It does have its positive benefits, such as absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, but this video will cover the negative aspects of a high-fat diet on something called Megalin, Megalin. So high fat diet or keto, it down regulates or breaks down megalin, also as well as cubilin, Cubilin, and cubilin basically is needed together with megalin, because megalin is like a multi-ligand protein, a member of the LDL receptor family, and it has to. So basically, cubilin, it needs the megalin, because cubilin cannot anchor itself to the plasma membrane to mediate endocytosis. So megalin helps cubilin do so. Megalin will help. So megalin provides a membrane anchoring for the cubilin. There's a complex called vitamin B12 intrinsic factor complex. So it's where B12 binds to intrinsic factor, uh, forming the vitamin B12 complex. And this complex is absorbed via cubilin, which binds the complex, as well as megalin. Another word for megalin is LRP2, which enables internalization. Cubilin binds the intrinsic factor B12 complex, but cubilin cannot internalize it alone because it lacks a transmembrane domain. So megalin acts as the endocytic partner, another internalization machinery. So the situation, if megalin is deficient, is that cubilin can still bind B12 intrinsic factor, but endocytosis fails or is severely impaired. The result is reduced vitamin B12 absorption, increased urinary loss of B12 binding proteins in a kidney context. So reduced B12 absorption or B12 deficiency could lead to high homocysteine, which means that increased atherosclerosis, heart risks, cancer risks, autoimmunity risks, possibly many other risks associated with homocysteine. Also, no glutathione. So, glutathione cannot reduce advanced glycation end products, and then rigid ECM. Also, a lot of other issues with advanced glycation end products, which is beyond the scope of this video. So a deficiency in B12 also has indirect but important effects on sulfur amino acid metabolism and trace mineral balance, including copper. So when B12 is deficient or goes down, there's also a loss or a reduction in cysteine. And the copper absorption and metabolism depend partly on sulfur-containing amino acids like cysteine, because cysteine plays a role in binding copper in the intestinal cells, helping transport copper safely in blood via proteins like metallothionein, and maintaining redox balance for proper copper handling. So cysteine is responsible for all of those copper functions. So if B12 deficiency is causing impaired uh, or reduced cysteine, that leads to impaired copper binding. Less cysteine equals weaker formation of copper thiol complexes, and then copper becomes less stable and less efficiently transported. Also, this reduced copper or copper deficiency can impair iron metabolism, because copper-dependent enzymes like ceruloplasmin are affected, and iron depends on ceruloplasmin. Okay, so iron is supposed to bind to transferrin in the blood so that it is circulating in the tissues, but iron, it will get stuck in tissues instead of circulating if the enzymes ceruloplasmin and hephaestin are not converting iron into a form that can bind to transferrin in the blood, because copper is required for those enzymes, ceruloplasmin and Homocysteine. And of course, those enzymes will not be available if copper is deficient, and then the iron will get stuck in tissues. Okay, cysteine is also needed for metallothionein, and low cysteine means decreased copper storage and regulation. Okay, so even if a body iron is normal or high, copper deficiency can cause a functional iron deficiency, and then iron can accumulate in the liver and other tissues. Also, even iron trapped in macrophages. So if you've seen my other videos, you already know what that is. Okay, now I'll be explaining the possible causes that could lead to everything that I've already explained, and that is due to dietary influence of high-fat diet or keto. Animal studies have shown high-fat diets or ketogenic diets can alter expression and function of megalin and cubilin in the proximal tubule of the kidneys, therefore downregulation of megalin. And so there are other consequences of no megalin or no clustering in addition to what I've already explained in the video up to this point, because ligands that normally rely on megalin cubilin for uptake, such as vitamin D binding protein, vitamin B12 intrinsic factor complex, which I've already explained, also albumin and lipoproteins, all of those cannot enter cells efficiently. The result is deficiencies of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, also potential increase in urinary excretion of molecules such as proteinuria and vitamin loss. Okay, loss or reduction of megalin because of high fat or keto diet. It can also lead to vitamin A deficiency, which could lead to parietal cells in the gut not able to secrete intrinsic factors so that it can bind to the vitamin B12. And the way keto diet could do this is by reducing megalin. And then without megalin, retinol binding protein, or RBP in short, can be lost in the urine, therefore leading to vitamin A deficiency, because vitamin A has to bind to the retinol binding protein, or retinol is another name for vitamin A. And as a result of the loss of a vitamin A, that could have an effect on the immune system, but that's beyond the scope of this video. So that's it for the video. If you're interested in more future videos, then make sure to like, comment, and share these videos with your friends and family to help them with their own cancer concerns. And keep it locked in here on my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.